and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace, and we're here at Cybos 2019 in London. Kindly joining me now in the studio is Benoit Legrand, Chief Innovation Officer at ING and CEO of ING Ventures.
Hello,
Benoit.
Anna. Hello.
It's lovely to see you
Thank you
again.
for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, of course, we're talking about innovation naturally, but if you could just start off telling us how important is it to changing the mindsets around innovation to make sure it's successful within an organization?
I think you are asking the right questions, because if there is one thing which is key and important to success in innovation, is people, right? And people is mindset. So it's just getting enough drive for people to dare to try new things and getting them out of the comfort zone, right? Because naturally, as human beings, we don't want change, right? So we want to stick to what we've done. We want to avoid risk. But here, innovation is just like going into a world which is 5 to 10 years from now, which you don't know, and I think you'll make a lot of mistakes walking in the dark. And this is where you need to have this mindset. But eventually, it's not about digitization, it's only about people and mindset.
All right, well, following on from that quite nicely then, in a large incumbent bank, what are the steps to successful innovation?
One of the key steps is also the culture which you have, because then I think we're very lucky in ING in coming from the ING direct mindset of building the first online banks about 20 years ago. So I think we have somehow in our genes something like this. Yet it takes more than that, and I think it also takes a very carefully thought innovation process, because it doesn't come by accident, right? So we've built what we call the innovation machinery, going from exploration to our own labs, into venture funds, in partnerships with fintechs. So we build this, but it doesn't come by accident, right? I think this is important. You need to build it in a very, very structured way with the right mindset. But if it's not supported from the very top of the organization, I think you'd better forget it and don't start doing it, because you'll be only going through frustrations and dead ends.
And of course, another component to this success is partnerships, which is a massive topic of discussion at Cybos especially. What importance would you put on partnering with fintechs?
Yeah. Now, again, a very good question. I think today we have 190 different partnerships with fintechs, and we also stopped another 80 partnerships, right? So I think it's been 4 or 5 years for us very important to partner, because we used to think as banks that we know it all, right? We've been in banking, we know things. Yet, I think the world is requiring us to open up ourselves and to go outside of banking and outside of our comfort zone to see what people have done before, right? Because they've done it, right? It's not that we can do it. And I think if I take the example of international payments, and I think a couple of days ago we released international payments in the same way as fintechs would be doing, in the very smooth, in a couple of minutes, transferring whatever Forex to any other countries for our Dutch customers, right? So we can do this, right? It just, we need it as bank to have the trigger from outside just to move and get our act together, just to get all the knowledge which we have and translate it into value for customers. This is eventually the final trigger. Whether you build it yourself or from outside doesn't eventually not matter. What matters is whether it brings value to your customers.
All right, and finally, I'd love to hear from you. How are you going about managing your data and also creating new personalised services at ING Bank?
Yeah, managing data, I think it's a bit like we've been sitting on a gold mine for many years, but didn't really take the effort to dig into these data mines. So I think now, again, the pressure from outside is helping us to do this. And it's a very sensitive topic. You know, I think it's important to notice that we as bank, the biggest asset which we have is trust, right? So there is nothing we will do which is against regulations, against respect of the customer. This is absolutely essential. So the use of data must be, again, in the benefit of the customer, with his consent, in a way which is helping him to get, again, better services, right? So artificial intelligence is coming this way, right? And I think it's a natural step. You know, artificial intelligence is a natural next step. You can't go against the tide. I think they're all undercurrents, and I think it's just how do we use them to give better service. Now we've started initiatives like I'd call it Katana Lens, which is using imperfections in the markets just to identify some interesting bond deals for asset managers, right? So it just coming in our way in a normal way. I think you can't fight it, right? It's just the way you need to do it respectfully for customers in a way which they see the value of it, right? I think, and we need to explain it also why we're doing things, right? Identifying also location of someone before making transfers and identify whether there's a fraud risk behind it by having that knowledge.
Well, Benoit, as always, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I think it's safe to say some exciting developments ahead as well.
It is very exciting. Thanks for having me.